All right, today on Boats and Hose and Mow, we are going to be, putting this door in, but we're not putting that door in. We're putting this door in. So yes, I did cut those two pieces without my safety glasses. I actually went out and looked for them and they weren't in the cart, so I've got to find them. But anyway, two 30-inch pieces here. These will be the C channels, or U channels, U channels. That'll be the bottom support for the studs going up. And so we'll end up having to cut out the section that the threshold, the door threshold, will sit in. This inflated plastic is actually going to be opened up. I'm hoping to put the zipper around the door so that this outside of the door on both sides stays inflated. But worst case is I've actually moved my air inflation right here into this panel, and I do have some zipper track there, and I can zipper that down and everything will be inflated down the sidewall except this one. But I'm hoping to keep it inflated if I can. Every little bit helps. It helps from wind, and it also helps a little bit with insulation. So we're going to use these U channels down here. I actually have some concrete screws. We'll drill into the concrete. We'll set probably 3 screws in each one. We have to get them positioned. We have to do our measurements here to get everything lined up with the right width. We want the width of the door, so literally the door, and then the stud will come up right where the end of this U channel is, and that'll create the door frame. Then up above it we'll put a header once we get the uprights in and set. So the first thing though is I got to figure out to cut this out. I know my width, but I need to know how far forward I need to put the threshold. So we're gonna do a little bit of math here and figure that out, and then we'll get back to doing some video once I get that figured. So when I got this U channel, this is just, kind of a flimsier, home improvement store type, all over the counter or off the shelf, whatever. Now the studs though, I went and I got, I think they're 16 gauge, really thick, really heavy duty, really stiff. So they'll make a huge difference. So as I think about this, I'm mocking it up. Hopefully you'll be able to see this. Let me go zoom out a little. So that's going to be my bottom U-track that'll be mounted to the concrete. And so I'm thinking that we'll be able to mount the stud, actually there'll be 2 studs. There'll be one there and one there. We'll actually be able to screw them to the channel right here that goes from the wall out. Now it's going to be cut after this, but the top one will not be cut. And so this piece is just a stub piece. I'll cut one to length that'll go up here. It's kind of hard to see with this sun. So let me come back here and point. So that's another, 16 gauge C channel. That's what this whole greenhouse is built out of. And so basically then what these wall studs are going to do is they're going to go up and it'll tie into that, right? It'll tie in down there. This piece will be cut out, and then it'll do the same thing on this side. So we'll have basically 2 studs on each side going up, tying in up above, and then we'll have our header piece that'll go across, and that'll probably be U channel as well. And anyway, I think that's going to be the game plan with this. So I'm going to get these uprights measured out, and I've actually got a chop saw. So instead of trying to use this little cutoff, battery cutoff, I will mark them out, measure all four. I'll mark them out. I'm going to take them up to the shop, and I'm going to use the metal chop saw that I've got to cut these to length, and then we'll be back out. Maybe a little hard to see with the sun now. But basically what we're going to do is we're going to take, we got all these little welding clamps, and we're going to clamp the tops and the bottoms just and kind of mock everything up. So what we did just now is we took the door. It's got this brace that makes it stick out. It was just kind of testing the fit because we had already marked our opening amounts. Now obviously if I add wood on the inside of this, then that's going to change. But you can also put the wood on this back side back here. So let me zoom out a little. So basically I was just testing the opening fit. Now these bottom channels, they're bowed up a little bit just because of the weight of those sitting in. I've got a little bit of concrete aggregate that is sticking out right in there under that channel. So I'm gonna have to take it out. I've got a grinder wheel that goes on the grinder there that we used when we did all these J-bolts and base plates for the posts. So I'll be able to grind that smooth, and then these will lay flat. All right, so I got a second stud fitted in there. And so I thought about maybe just one, but then as I thought further, you know, when this is cut out, then this is really only going to be affixed there, you know, there and here. I think it'll be good to have that third point, you know, tied top to bottom and then side to side. So we'll put another one in over here. It'll go up and we'll tie that in. Like I said, we're just kind of dry fitting everything.
All right, it's the next day, and I had to go round up some more clamps up at the shop. I've also got that head for grinding off the concrete, and so we'll be working on that. And we'll finish up this mock fit up right now though, and I'll mark off where all the studs are, so it'll help me get the thing lined up a little better or a little quicker when I get ready to finalize it. But right now we'll finish the mock-up, and then it'll dismantle, and we'll clean up some of the concrete, and then we'll build it all back. So what we're going to do is we're going to put on this concrete cutting blade on our grinder. I always like to take the battery off just to make sure. Of course, you've got a lockout button here, but just to make sure that you don't have the button in the wrong place. So on these, you've just got a little button here at the top that locks and holds it. You got a little wrench that you can then, and it's never an easy job, a little coordinating. There we go. Got it loose, so it's just a little locking nut. Depending on what kind of wheel you have on, you either might want a flat surface side or a indented surface side to lock it in. This is a cutoff wheel, so we'll just put this thing on. Now this actually threads on, so this one actually threads on. So thread that on, and I don't remember, I don't think there's actually, yeah, the problem is you can't get your wrench really in there to tighten it. I'm going to try, see if we can do that. Yep, we are able to do that, so tighten that down and we're good to go. We'll go grind that aggregate down. Probably won't show you that. And then we'll pre-drill our U-channel, and then we've got this concrete anchoring system. So it comes with the bit, the anchor screws, and the driver head for the screws. So we'll drill the holes in the sheet metal, the U-channel, and then we'll drill the concrete in those places. And then we drive these in, and it holds that U-channel down, and then that stuff will be in place. So now I'm just going to take and drill a hole through the U-channel, just so the bit goes easier through, big enough, but yet the head still grabs the channel. Also, it allows me then to lay this down and mark where I'm going to drill the concrete with the concrete bit. So all right, we've got our holes drilled. I actually marked them left and right just so keep the orientation correct. We'll bring them over here, we'll lay them out, we'll drill our concrete holes. These are also marked, so there you can see where I ground off that aggregate with that grinder. One other thing we'll do also is we will take some tape and we will tape up on the drill bit so that we know how deep to go, so that make sure the holes are deep enough so that we don't bottom out our screw on the concrete and it won't drive all the way in. So we'll give it a little 1/4 inch of extra depth, and then we'll tape that drill bit so we know how deep to put the hole. All right, so we've marked these holes. This one I'm a little worried about because it's right on a rock, but we'll see how that goes. Already started this one slightly. And I'm using the hammer drill feature on this drill. That wasn't as bad as I thought. It slipped off, so I had to angle a little bit until it got in a good bite, and pilot hole started, and then I could straighten it up. So we'll get the other ones drilled, marked. We'll shop back those out, and then we should be ready to attach these in. All right, we've got the C channels down at the, or not C channels, U channels down at the bottom. They're now screwed in and mounted.
I've not clamped the bottoms, but I've got my marks there. I have clamped the tops just to keep them from falling, and we've kind of plumbed everything up. I've got to go get an order ready. I have an order of 3 cases of lettuce, so we got to go get ready for delivery. But then when I get back, we'll start screwing this stuff in and getting everything finalized so that we can then set the door in place. So one of the things we need to do here is we're going to have to put this wiggle wire track on the back to the height of the door. So let me go over here and show you what we're doing there. Putting it on now because once I get this installed, it's going to be really hard to put the track in, screw it to the support. So we'll just go ahead and stick it on. Then when we mount it, it'll be there. Then once we get everything cut out, then we can just put the wiggle wire in and the plastic's locked in place. Pardon our mess, but I was measuring nutrients. So this is the wiggle wire track, and then the wire itself I'll show later. The plastic lays over this, and then the wire just locks it into the channel. So all we do is we come in here with some self-tapping tech screws, we screw it in, and that's it. So one of the issues with doing your own construction is you have to fit it in around everything else. So we're another day or two later after the last videos, and let me show you what I've got going on here now. We're finishing up the framing on this door entry. So one of the things we had to do was, it's really difficult to get the screws back into that back thing. So we just drilled a hole. We got an extension on our drill driver, and we just used that bit there and drilled holes, and this thing solid as a rock now. The way that most of the time the door headers, let me zoom this out a little bit, we're about to run out of daylight today. So the header that will go in above the door, and you'll maybe be able to see I've got the lines measured and marked now. And so normally it's a U-track, and they just snip it and fold it down, and so the header goes across, and then those snip pieces kind of come down and they get screwed in. Now since we've got the zipper track on the back side, I would have had to done that and put it on first, then put the zipper track over it, and it's really not going to offer much support. So actually what we're doing over here is we've got some real sturdy L brackets. I have them over somewhere else, and so we've cut a piece the size of the header. I'll put these L brackets in. This will be turned this way, so it'll give a good surface to screw the top of the door jamb in to. And then basically, so I'll actually be turned down, so I'll actually put my L brackets inside of here. So up, screw that into the stud, have it screwed into here. And I got to think about those screws are going to protrude down into the door jamb. So I got a little bit more figuring to do, but I want this there because it'll be a lot stiffer than that U channel. So we've got this cut to size, and so basically yep, it's a good fit. So basically that's going to sit in right there at the door header, and then that'll give the door the ability to screw into it at the top and the sides, and that's it. That'll be the framing opening. So once we get this in, and I may wait to put that header in until after I've got the door on, I'm not sure yet, but next step is definitely we got to cut this section out and then slide the door in and get it ready to fit. Okay, so we got those in. We can bend these a little bit so they don't have to be exactly perfect, but sometimes out of the box these self-drilling screws don't always self-drill. So anyway, so I figured out what I'm going to do on this back side is I'm just going to take my cutoff tool and I'm just going to go a little bit above the surface here and just cut these all off so that I don't have to worry about them protruding down into the top of the door jamb. Leave enough thread there so that, you know, it still has a bite into the metal, but we'll take these down so then they don't protrude. Last thing we're going to do before we run out of daylight is we'll need a little bit of this zipper track on the outside edge. So I'm just going to mark this and quickly cut it off. Okay, in preparation for taking this footer out, we took our grinder cutoff wheel and we've actually cut through the wiggle wire in the channel, just because the Sawzall doesn't really like cut through that wiggle wire very easily. And so the wiggle wire tends to want to jump around with the Sawzall. So we just make a clean cut there. Now we'll go in on the inside, and where the stud is, we'll actually then take the Sawzall and we'll cut straight down through and remove this sill plate or footer. So this bottom stud is actually just towed in a little bit, and so I'm going to have to remove that screw there from the bottom U-channel, let that twist back. Should be able to slide the door in then, and then once I get it all in and plumbed, I'll reattach that stud to the U-channel. All right, we had to adjust this bottom one, and we did. We got a really good fit. Of course, this is going to pull in when we get it screwed in. Now, I'm flush with the front of this beam, and I got a couple of inches back here on this back side. So, and part of that is because I didn't cut the footer off on this side, because I had to make that adjustment back just slightly. So now I think I got to pull this out anyway to put liquid nails down on the threshold. So I think I'll cut that off. I'll center the door then in the studs, and then we'll be ready to screw it in. And once I get that done, I'll add the header. I didn't want to add that header because when you go to tilt the door in, that header should be a tight fit and it wouldn't go in very easy. You'd have to almost slide it in, and on that concrete that might be a little tough. Plus there's going to be liquid nails down, so I didn't want to make a big mess down here. And so we'll go ahead, get the liquid nails in, and we'll get the 2 holding screws put in, and then we'll screw in the header, and then we can do the final fastening of the door. I've already grubbed up the door. We're gonna have to clean it, but that's the least of my worries right at the moment. Okay, we've got it tacked in place. Unfortunately, the wood to metal screws I bought weren't long enough for the jamb to go through. I had some Tech screws, and I put them in temporarily just to hold the top. I've got the liquid nails at the bottom, so we'll be setting up. I've plumbed it. I've just got this brace here just because when we pulled the door in and squared it, the actual door with a little bit of the suction breeze from the fans wanted to blow in. So we still got to put in the header, but I got to go get the right screws. I want to get the side jambs all in and screwed down, and then I'll put the header jam in. Then we'll cut the plastic and zipper it in, and then we just got to put the hardware on and we'll be done. Okay, we ran to the hardware store and got the correct screws to screw the door jamb to the studs. We got that done. We're getting ready to put the door hardware on. Now, none of these are drilled, so we'll drill the pilot holes for those. But let's take a look out here. And so we got the zipper wire in, and I've trimmed off the excess. I can already now see these walls are re-inflating. They will not totally inflate because right now the fans are running. I've got the door open, it's drawing in air. So there's some negative pressure inside the greenhouse. But when the fans shut off in the evening, this thing will puff right back out. It was funny because when I had the opening cut, it was still earlier this morning, and you know, the walls were still you know, puffed out. So they'll re-inflate as the afternoon goes on. But anyway, we've got these. I may have to put a little bit of tape to seal the corners down here, but I've had big gashes in this thing, and you know, it doesn't even leak out enough to offset the amount of blower fan input to it. So anyway, got that dressed up. Now we're just working on the door hardware, and that's the last step. And so that's literally just following the instructions that came with the lock set. And so I do need to drill some of these pilot holes for these screws for the striker plates and that stuff. So we'll do that, and we'll show you the finished results. Okay, we just got the strike plates. We actually had to cut these out just a little lower on both of those. I guess when this was pre-hung, it wasn't hung quite right, or drilled quite right, but we got it fixed, pardon the wind noise. And so we got it now. That latches, and then we just have to push in slightly to get that deadbolt to go in. But it goes in, and those screws actually come through and screw into the steel stud as if it was a wooden frame. Not like the deadbolt's gonna help. All they gotta do is just cut the plastic and come on in. So we'll never use the deadbolt, but we have it there just as a little extra added. Let's say if we're expecting a storm or something, we might want to deadbolt it, just so we have a little extra, you know, closure security on that. And it looks like the walls are re-inflating after we've zippered around the door. So yep, we've got some good air pressure there. So thanks for watching. It ended up being a lot more than I thought. You know, framing out a steel studded wall for a door is a little bit more tricky than just doing it with 2x4s, that's for sure. Especially on concrete and then steel studs. But we got our header in, as you can see. The door is fitting well, and so now we have this entrance, and we'll actually close this entrance with the plastic and the zipper wire there. It'll be closed like this one is. If we ever need to bring anything in here, like equipment or anything, we'll just unzipper it, pull the plastic off, bring the stuff in. But our main access now for going forward is going to be this door. So thanks for watching. Hope you learned something. This is my first ever metal stud door hanging, and so there's a lot of differences, I guess, but hopefully you find this helpful. Don't forget, subscribe to our channel. We're trying to grow our channel, and subscribing really helps us out a lot. 90% of our views, 95% of our views are not subscribers. So in our treks to get to our first 1,000 subscribers, please hit the subscribe button and, you know, share and comment. That helps us in the algorithms. We always put this at the end. We don't want to beg for subscribers up front, but we appreciate everybody watching.